to yet another OpenSSF live stream with me, Ram. I'll be your host today, as always. And as is my tradition, we have a very special guest today. I know I keep saying that for every single stream, but again, this one is definitely special. So, what we have on the stream today, or who we have on the stream today, is an open source project that's focused on security and that's built and maintained by a contributor slash maintainer slash developer from India, which is sort of all of the ingredients that we've been going for so far in this show. Plus, it's from this person who lives and writes code out of Bangalore, which I guess most people who work in tech in India are. The nice thing about Bangalore is it's such a melting pot, not just of ideas, but of identities as well. There's so many people from so many different parts of the country that have just converged to make Bangalore sort of the IT capital or the IT hub of this country. And it's so diverse when you go there, and there's so many different people who speak so many different languages. They come from so many different backgrounds. It's just fantastic. And I happened to cross paths with Tushar very briefly at an event I was at, but later on he was kind enough to respond to a clarion call that I'd sort of sent out saying, "Hey, security folks who are also doing open source, can we please get together and do something?" So that is how Tushar landed up on the stream. I'm very happy to welcome him on the show today. I have many announcements, the primary one being there's an open SSF day coming up very soon in August, co-located with KubeCon and LF India's Open Source Summit. Please be there for Open SSF Community Day. I'll drop like registration links and everything. But today is all about Tushar. Welcome to the show, Tushar. Nice to have you here.
Hey, hi Ram. Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me. Hey, hi everyone. I'm Tushar. So, really happy to join this session.
So, to the 10 anonymous viewers who are on the stream today, you can drop your chat links and comments and feedback and questions and all of that in the chat window. If you do, I'll bring it up on the stream and we can get Tushar to answer those questions. But, Tushar, you want to give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do?
Definitely. So, I'm a professional security engineer. I work with a fintech company, startup. I have experience in again fintech and hospitality business startups, uh, building teams, working on the lean team. Uh, Around more than 5 years experience in this tech industry. So my journey in security was pretty roller coaster ride. So I joined Oyo as developer, then switched to security, then moved to Jupiter, again one of the fintech startup, top fintech startup of India. Then recently I moved to OpenFX. It's again a fintech, multi-institutional money transfer business. So yeah, security plays a major role, and I really love working in it. I've been a
I'm
developer.
going to I'm going to interrupt you there. A lot of people have questions about I was a developer and then I got into security. What made that happen and how did that happen and how did that come about? That's like a question we get so often on the show. Do you mind, expanding on that a little?
Definitely. So, since my childhood, I was bit notorious guy. So I loved security in a way to, uh, basically like in a bad way, like Wi-Fi hacking, those kind of stuff, getting access of someone's account. But yeah, this is something from background that I was coming from. It was bit not acceptable, and like I didn't have a like support from my neighborhoods, kind of. Then in college, I thought I should give a try. I did a training on security just to understand what is the good aspect of it and what is the bad aspect of it. So that part of hacking that I was interested in, that is something got what we say channelized in my college days. And then in college, I was a developer also. I used to develop Android apps, building solutions. Uh, then I went to security, uh, did some of the bug bounty, found issues in the government websites also. So that was very interesting. But generally, as you know, like since last 4 to 5 years, security is booming. But at that time, either like companies were not paying off, or like they need experienced guy. But luckily, I went to do like it was a campus placement that happened to in Oyo. I got into Oyo, but again, as per my previous experience, they offered me if you want to come with the security team or not, and I was more than happy. So that's how I went into security. But yeah, development was something was again a core inside me, which was basically like I used to use that skill to automate all the security tasks. I know a couple of people who have actually worked on development in internship and full time, and then they switched. Okay, I want to do security again, the startup. So again, I believe security is just a mindset. You need ideally, if you're a developer, you could be a good security engineer because you know how to build the products.
Great. Yeah, I think I do agree with you in terms of if you're a developer, security is sort of there, but it's so hard to convince people to adopt security best practices from the start and have them be conscious of secure development and things like that, especially in the, I would say, open source and non-application level sort of things. It's brutal. It's very hard for me to walk into a room and say, hey, folks should try security, but I can, very easily go into a room and say, hey, let's write some applications on blockchain, and then everybody's so happy to get their hands dirty and start working on things. But if I say, hey, you're all open source users and contributors, software supply chain security is important, let's look at some tools, and then everybody's like not interested anymore and they'll tune out very fast. So that's a challenge, and it's nice to see that you're advocating for a developer led security mindset and things like that. So um, yeah, I hope a lot of people are inspired by what you say and how you feel about things, and consider doing that. But yeah, tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today in terms of tools or techniques, or what is it you have for us?
Sure. So I'll start with the problem statement that I was facing. So I was in my company, and like I've seen multiple startups. I have connected multiple startups through friends and colleagues. Like so, especially in startup, people don't use VPN. If they use it, again, the management is a bit difficult. The cost is difficult. Like again, there are multiple commercial solutions. Uh, they charge good hefty amount, and again, security is something they see as a rather than investment, they see as a kind of a liability. And that's the mindset. Like a lot of people have it because until unless business gives some revenue, you don't want to spend money on the security and those kind of stuff. But yeah, again, as a security engineer, it hurts me again and again. Like if I'm not able to restrict a lot of things, right? So that is something the problem statement that I saw that a lot of companies are facing right now. I went through multiple open source projects also. But again, it the solution that I got was either they were too much restricting in a way that you can have the management would be difficult. I'll tell you in detail later on, but the management would be difficult, or the limitations on the number of users, or some XYZ, or like the setup was difficult. But coming from the background of again as a developer and security engineer, I want like things should be so smooth that even a normal DevOps guy can come and set things up, can have multiple VPNs set up and with one go. Also, one of the challenge was generally like people when they have mobile application and website both, it's not something the application has to be only be used in the desktop through CLI or something, but it has to be integrated with mobile application. So in a way, if you have staging or dev environment, you have your mobile apps, do use it, but use it through VPNs only, rather than exposing it directly to the public, which is something that I've seen in multiple startups. Or like if they have went through some commercial uh, spending a lot of money in the tools, that's a different case. But generally, like people go with public staging environment itself. On top of that, there are a lot of internal tools or basically the applications which are exposed publicly, which is something again a concerning. Like again, how I can we can reduce the blast radius, something we do with the network security, right? So that was the problem statement. I explored multiple tools. I did some POC of some of the commercial tools also. Either they were too costly, or if they were in the kind of budget also. But again, the one of the tool basically I faced was I cannot have simultaneous user login through different devices. One user can at a time log in through either desktop or like either through mobile, one of the mobile device. So that was again concerning. So the plan was, let's build something in a way that can be fruitful for everyone, every company. There's no restriction of how many uh, like current concurrent session a user can have, kind of device, or what category, like be it Android, iOS, uh, or desktop, be it like Linux, Windows, Mac OS. So that was the plan. Again, it has to be so simple, the setup part. So I was going through Golang. I was building some of the tools before that. Then I thought, let's try it. I went through like what kind of different protocols I can use for VPN. One of them was Open VPN. Then I explored WireGuard. So I chose WireGuard eventually because it was fast. Again, that was the main thing. The setup was easy, and thirdly, again, like it is quantum safe. Later on, like we are seeing the progress that China and other countries, and like eventually we will also do in quantum. That is something like it is quantum safe. So I thought of, let's go ahead with this one, including the other factors that was involved. And then I built a centralized management console, a kind of a zero ZTNA solution, zero trust network access. In a way, you have a central console to manage all the VPNs, who is accessing what kind of VPN, and then a VPN can be basically like team wise VPN. Like team one will have a different gateway, team two will have a different gateway, team three will have a different gateway, and a vendor will have a different gateway. So accordingly, you can restrict a lot of things. And on top of that, if you want to, okay, so on top of that, if you want to use your replace your existing VPNs like AWS VPN, which is a bit costly if you segregate it in this way, very much costly. So in that way, this is something comes under player that you can manage it well centrally. You can deploy in a single way. So within 5 minutes, you can deploy a new gateway in using Qryptic. So the product was Qryptic basically that I built. I hope I was clear. Let me know if you have any doubt.
No, no doubts or anything like that. Just so you spoke about the need for private networking, as in VPNs and things like that, and then you base this off of Wireshark. You said, is it like
Why guard?
WireGuard? Sorry. So did you like fork it and then write something new, or what is the downstream there like?
So downstream is eventually I'm using WireGuard protocol only uh, to get the communication from the client, the user, and the end gateway, and then the routing of requests will happen. Eventually, I'm using that, but the management of WireGuard is something I'm playing with. So WireGuard gives you, okay, you can connect, can have a communication from client to server, a server with the gateway kind of, but for how long you can connect, who can connect, and that management is something necessary, because if you do it in a static way, what happens is that credentials get leaked. Anyone can have access of it, so that is a bit insecure. So that's why I came in the picture, like let's do the management itself, and all everything dynamic, nothing static. All the user creation in the as a WireGuard configuration, everything will be automatic through the central console itself. Nothing has to be done at the common or like individual this gateway level. So that was the plan.
Interesting. Yeah, I think, like a lot of people like to say in the open source world, um, talk is cheap. Show me the code.
Right. So I'll show
I'm
that.
going to- yeah, I'm going to bring your screen up, and then I'll, yeah.
Is my screen visible? I hope so. So I have created multiple repositories. Uh, some of them still to come. I think by this month's end, I'll add other repositories also. So this is a documentation repository where you can understand what is actually being done, how you can do the setup, and the overall architecture of it. I'm not a good designer, by the way, but yeah, I'll try my best to give a good visualization of how things are being connected. So I'll just go give a rough idea right now, and then I'll deep dive one by one. So this repository is basically for documentation. Then I build the controller. So basically, this is the main brain who does everything, like setting up what can be the authentication, creating new gateways, all those stuff, everything. That's the main brain who gives credentials to connect to the gateway, user management, gateway management. Everything is done by this brain. That's the brain, and it has its own database which has audit logs and all everything. This is gateway. Again, that's a very light Docker image that I generally build. It's basically it is comprised of WireGuard protocol. So all the management of user is being done through this gateway, and this is being installed in the like the server which we are looking for, that we want to make it a VPN. So we can make any server as a VPN. We just have to run this Docker. That's it. And then yeah, so there was some challenge that I was facing while creating the desktop app of macOS, especially and the iOS, because we need to have a membership. So that process right now going on. So just to fill the gap, we have built the CLI tool also, so that the desktop users can actually use it. So this is for that the client CLI, which any user can use it to just connect to the gateway, and they can just use whatever they want. They want to use their internal resources also, they can do that. They don't need any VPN, AWS VPN or any other VPN. So that's basically the main major role. So I'll go one by one. So just an update. I'll add two more repositories. One is for the website, the web front end. This is not yet added here. And secondly, I'll add the front end for the application itself, the Android and iOS. So that is something, two things that are pending. Web, I think by end of this month, I'll do that, and I'll need to update when I can update the front end for the Android and iOS. But yeah, I think for now desktop would be working fine. I've added this one more a homebrew repository also, so that like any user just don't need to go for multiple setup. If they're using client CLI, they just have to use Brew and they're sorted. They don't need to work upon any external library installation or anything. So just try my best to basically minimize the friction for any user or developer. So I'll go one by one. Let me do one thing. Okay. So eventually what happens is, as per the architecture, the controller is the brain, as I mentioned, that it has its own database. Every user connects with this controller only, be it the normal employee or the admin of the tool. They all connect with the controller. Now, using this controller, we can create multiple gateways. Eventually, controller will give you the configuration of the gateway, basically like a Docker with multiple environment variables, and you just have to copy that and paste it in any server, and it will run as a VPN solution for you. So you will have, for example, you have three gateways. You have created three VPNs. Now you want to give access of, for example, 1 and 2 to this one employee. You want to give access of this VPN to a different employee. So those kind of things you can do. Again, VPN you can use as there can be two use cases. One is you want to access any private network. For example, you have everything in the private subnet in AWS or Azure or any cloud provider, and you want to access it, right? So for that, you can create a different gateway, or you can use the same gateway also. Like it's all up to you, your requirement. You can have a separate gateway for accessing any uh, publicly hosted but restricted way only to the gateway, those kind of resources. So kind of, for example, you have hosted something publicly and you want to whitelist certain IPs only. So both the functionality will be available. It's more about how you are using it. So the baseline will be the same only. Now, for example, the admin comes here. He onboards multiple users. He can create groups and add multiple users in that group, and he can assign that group that, okay, this group can have, for example, a team one can have team one gateway, team two can have team two gateway access, and team one gateway have its own cluster or its own EKs or resources that they can access. Team two can have their own resources, they can access that. So inter access is something that we are preventing. The blast radius, for example, team one does anything bad, they have somehow they get hacked and their credential got leaked. So the blast radius will be very minimal. It's not something that anyone else will be hampered. So those kind of thing is there. Now, what happens is when someone, for example, employee has the access of gateway, they will request for it that, okay, I want to connect to gateway one. So what would happen internally is employee will get the client will get a temporary credential in a way of public key and private key, which will be given to client as a configuration, and the same will be added in the gateway also. So that's how we are creating a bridge between this gateway and the employee. So what is the requirement of WireGuard is we have to create a pair in both of them, that for client the end the its peer will be the gateway, and for the gateway the peer should be this one with the certain IP, and that is something I'm configuring with this controller. So controller basically can connect with the gateway through API calls, and there's an authentication layer also that is there. Every gateway will have a different authentication token so that even if someone gets compromised, the other one is safe. And all those audit logs and everything will be stored in the database so that if anyone wants to see what happened earlier and all those kind of stuff, they can go through the audit log and they can just see the details. Okay, I got, for example, employee one was added in group one and then they tried to access gateway one. So all those audit logs will be stored in the database. So that's the overall architecture. Okay, fine. So now, what is client here? Like I told you about controller, gateway, user, group, right? But what is client? So that is basically the main key thing that I introduced here is that I'm not directly associating any user to a gateway. Rather, I'm creating a bridge which is called as a client, which will be there with the user and the gateway. So client is nothing but a configuration that will be there associated with the user and the gateway. So eventually a user can have hundreds of clients with and like again each client will have its own gateway. So a one to many mapping is being done with the client. So which was basically not available in one of the tool that I evaluated. So they had a direct communication and mapping with the user and the gateway. So that's what the challenge, that multiple concurrent session was not available for a particular user. So that client introduction basically helped in mapping one user to multiple gateways. So that was the crux of it. So what I'll do is I'll just show you a tool first, and then again we can go ahead with the more documentation or anyone has any doubt. Sounds good? Okay. So
Hey, that's fine by me, Tushar. Go
okay,
for it.
okay.
By all means.
So okay. Again, I have introduced both email ID password and Google sign in for now. As your other sign is not that's not added right now, but yeah, that's a different roadmap we have. But email ID password login is there and the Google sign is there. This email ID password is something randomly generated at the first setup, which you can disable later on once you create new users. So for example, I log into this. Now you can see the portal. I'll just update this after this call. But eventually, you can see you can create your own single sign-on. You don't have to be dependent on third party. So even the SSO will be of your own. So that is again one of the things that I wanted, that nothing can has to be of any different player. Once you have this tool, even the SSO configuration, you can have it of your own. You can have your own redirection URL. You can whitelist your own origin. So everything will be up to you. Now I want to disable the username password login. I can do it here and I'm all sorted. Or if I have to enable it, I just have to enable it and I'm sorted. So generally, like in the companies, when we put it there, we generally, after enabling the SSO and getting users, we generally disable it. But for the purpose that someone is not using SSO, or like they are not on Google SSO, just for that purpose, for now we have that.
So, are you saying that identity is like a big part of the security protocol overall? That people have very strict requirements about using federated or SSO means versus doing regular login password combinations?
Right. So I have communicated with multiple regulated entities also, and a lot of companies who are dealing with the fintech, especially. So when we have a SSO and federated access, the thing is we can centrally manage them. So what happens in user and password is, if someone offboards and you have to review their access also, it's more about you have to track down each and every places, and if something is missed, you are in a non-compliant stage. So that is the preferred area where all the regulated entities and all the companies which are dealing with the fintech or tied up with the regulated entities, they try to leverage these SSO itself. That's the experience that I have got, like while working with the fintech companies. And again, as a security general, prefer the SSO configuration. So for
Okay,
example,
thanks.
I have created one group. Right now, I don't think there would be anyone. I'll add, for example, Ram, or like I'll add my different user ID itself. I don't want to set the password. I want to make it SSO itself. I'll make it admin, or I'll show you the user first. What I can do is I can just add. I can have multiple users still, but let's assume I have added it. Now I have two users in this group. So the grouping is done, and you can have multiple users, and you can group the users also as per the team. You can have I have created two roles, admin and the user. Now there is one section of gateway. Now this demo I have added one gateway. So I'll show you the setup for this gateway also. So this is basically, so for any gateway creation, you need a IP of that server. It has to be public. You need a port, which is the UDP port that you have to enable for WireGuard communication. So eventually, if the default port is 71820, you can customize it. That's configuration also available. You can have your own DNS server. So why I have added this column is, by default I'm using Cloudflare, or like I'll use Google one. But later on we can have our own DNS server, and then from there we can restrict the access of multiple kind of website. We can restrict social media website. So those kind of things we can do it here. So for that purpose, I added it in starting itself. Later on, we will take the use of it. And there is something which is required to for the controller to communicate with that particular gateway. So internally, you can see here that even the controller needs to connect to the gateway so that it can tell it, okay, add this user configuration, so that the particular user can connect with you. So the domain is something is generally we give here, and we can save it. Then once you add it, you can click here and you will get the configuration of the gateway. So it will have multiple things: your password, gateway token password, like what is the image and everything that you have to copy, and version is something you have to add dynamically. That is something I have done it right now, that you can have it dynamically added to yourself. So what I'll do is I'll just set up a new gateway. I have this running. For example, I'm creating this one, team 2. I'll use Cloudflare one, team 2 dot. Uh, so this range is something internal to the internal VPN network. So every new user or new client will have a different private IP itself. So it will have a different subset of private IPs. So this is for that. So you can use it as per your requirement, but generally I give it 24 so I have a large pool of VPN IPs. Make it 0. Okay, I think I need to refresh. So you can see it is giving me error because like again, this is not working. This is something the configuration I have done here itself. So what I'll do is I'll just go there, copy it. My EC2 machine is running. I'll connect there. Oh, now it's running fine. Now we can see it here. It's healthy. So eventually, a few setups are already done. That how the request will come if the load balancer thing and all. I'll show you, but that is already done for now. Now let's see how it will look like for the people. So what I'll do one thing. I'll reshare my screen. I think my window is only shared. Is my entire screen visible?
Yeah, I brought it up now.
Okay, okay. My terminal is visible, right?
Yeah. If you could make it slightly bigger
So
somehow, just the font.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks. That's good.
okay. Okay, I've already installed, but if someone wants to install it, let's do it here. So first of all, we have to tap this project and then brew install Qryptic. So all this will you can find in the documentation itself for the client part. Soon we will release the desktop app and mobile app also. So a lot of things will be bypassed, but people are generally like the CLI part. So for that, it will be happy. Okay, so it needs sudo access. What I have to do is I'll log in. Now I have to give the controller IP because again, it's every company will have its own controller domain, right? So what is the domain of the controller? Like where you have hosted your APIs, the controller is something that. So where you have hosted, the domain of that controller is something that we have to put it here. Both the options are available. For example, I have to go with this one. If I do the login again, it show me it's already authenticated. Simple. Oh, I'm missing T again and again. So I have again this user on Tushar Anand 111 does not have access to this one. We can see it here. So right now we can see no user have access to this uh, team 2 gateway. So I cannot see this gateway, right?
Hey Tushar, looks like you froze up a bit. Yeah, we might have lost Tushar for a second there. I'm sure he'll be back. Hey,
Okay.
you're back. Um,
Sorry.
no, you froze up for a bit and then we were not able to hear you at all. Um,
Okay.
so you were
So
showing
till
us
when you
how
have,
you don't have access to something.
okay.
Yeah,
So
let's start
let
from
us
there.
see it here. Okay. So you can see I have access to only team 1 gateway,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have access to team 2 gateway. Neither any of his group is given access. Either I can give access to the group, or even I can give the access to the user eventually. So my this user had only access of team 1. So here you can see it will give me option of only team 1 gateway and not anything else. Since I have already connected, you can see my current IP is this one. Uh, so my EC2 machine is running in US region. So that's why you can see the location of that EC2 machine. It is acting as a gateway for me, a VPN for me. Now let me disconnect.
Hey Tushar, I'm afraid we've lost you again. Until Tushar is back, I'll just take a minute to remind folks about OpenSSF Community Day in Hyderabad. That's happening on the 4th of August. The website's live, the agenda is live. We have a whole bunch of different topics that we can speak about, we can discuss, and you can learn about from the speakers on stage. The spectrum of topics goes from Linux security all the way to quantum security and post quantum crypto, if you're interested in any of those. And obviously, there's like a good flavor of cloud native. Uh, I mean, it's almost co-located with KubeCon, so I think that that goes without saying. And there's a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different open source contributors and maintainers. And if you're in the business of open source and security and things like that, I highly recommend you be part of the event. Hey
Sure.
Tushar, do we have you again?
Yeah. Am I not audible?
You can see some lights blinking, but I don't see him yet. Um, but that's fine. We just give him a few more moments to fix things. I mean, it's never a fun event without any AV issues cropping up from time to time. And so I think this is part of the game here. Hmm. Trying once again. Tushar, are you able to hear me? Because we're neither able to hear you nor see you yet.
Am I audible and visible to you now? Hello.
No. It's too bad. I thought it was going so well, and maybe I jinxed it. And there's other things I can show people in the meantime. For those of you who are interested, there's a whole bunch of different free courses in security. Scan this QR right here somewhere. um, and these are courses that are designed and built by the folks at the OpenSSF. The OpenSSF, for those who don't know, stands for Open Source Security Foundation. And the Open Source Security Foundation basically exists for better security in the open source domain. So if you're either consuming open source or producing open source, or you're a maintainer or a contributor of some sort, you become an audience for the OpenSSF by default. So I'm just helping Tushar troubleshoot. So sorry about the noisy typing. But if you want a free course in security, you're either getting started or you want to understand some projects deeper and learn more about software supply chain security, this is your course. It's built and maintained by the Linux Foundation. I highly encourage people to check it out. And then let's see. There are other things that are a part of the OpenSSF that I'd like people to learn about too. And one of those things is different projects. So in my opinion, one of the easiest projects to get started with is the scorecard project. The scorecard is, let's see if we have Tushar yet. Tushar, can you hear me? Because I
Yes.
can't hear you or see you.
Am I audible? Yeah, for me, everything is working fine. I'm not sure why. Like I can hear
He is using a
everything.
different browser, etc. I don't know why it's. Should I take the risk of refreshing or something? I don't know.
I've tried multiple browsers, so for me, it's working very fine. Like I'm able to hear you clearly, see you clearly. Not sure what is happening right now.
But anyhow, scorecard is an easy project to get started with. Maybe I'll just quickly refresh my window. If you see neither me or Tushar for a few minutes, please bear with me. I don't know how this is going to function. What does it look like live though? But I'm sure if it doesn't go through here, there you are.
Okay, nice.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay, I can hear you from starting.
Good.
So till when you have heard me?
The identity stuff, you were giving us access to something,
Okay.
and we lost you there after that.
Okay. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So I was showcasing that if as a user I have access to only team one, then I'll like when I will be connecting with the gateway, like okay, when I'll try to connect, I'll have multiple options. That okay, which gateway you want to connect. So in that case, until unless either I am in the users list of that gateway or in the group list of that gateway, I won't be able to access that gateway. So that kind of access control that has been put in the place. So you can see I am in this group, and this group was basically in the list, and that is why like I was able to access the both the gateways. So kind of a user and group management was is there in the place in this tool. Were you able to see the connection, how I was able to connect to the gateway or something? I think that might be playing the role of disconnection, because like when you connect to a new VPN, but eventually that should not be the issue.
Yeah, that could be the case, I think.
Okay. So I'll show without connecting it. Okay. Okay. So as a user, when I try to connect to the any of the gateway, I'll have the option whether I want to connect to team one gateway or team two. If I have 100 of gateways access, I'll get a lot of options, and accordingly I can choose one of them and connect. I'm just not clicking over it because I think that might be issue for this session. But yeah, it would be similar to this one. So a config will be created, and accordingly you will be connected to that particular IP. The plus point of this is right now I am directly exposing the IP itself, but you can put that server under a network load balancer also. So that's how you can restrict it. Just for the demo purpose, I've not used it. But if a company wants to not expose the machine directly, or they want to have a multiple replica of it, they can do it. They can just have to put the network load balancer over it because it supports UDP. That's the thing. And again, for normal request, HTTPS requests, REST APIs, I think ALB application load balancer works very well. Hey Ram, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not sharing anything yet, though, right?
Yeah, I was earlier sharing.
No, your screen is not visible.
Oh, wait, what is happening right now?
Hmm. Yeah, I can see you now,
Okay.
and I can see your screen now.
Yeah. So I'll show you. So once I log into Qryptic, I have to pass the controller URL. So it should be.
Just a reminder to make the font bigger. Sorry.
Oh, thanks a lot. Is this better?
Definitely better. Thanks.
I'm already authenticated, otherwise it would have me asked me for. I'll show you this part again. So within certain time period, you have to log in, otherwise it will fail. Already connected. Now when I go for connection, it will ask me which gateway I want to connect with. So I have both the options right now because I have access to both of them. Once I click in it, one of them, it will show me I'm connected, and then I'm just ignored that part. But I should show me that which one I have to connect, and then I'll be get connected. And accordingly, we can verify it by just checking what is my IP. So right now I've not connected to any of them because this connection, but eventually it will work. Now the setup of load balancer is something I'll create a. One gateway. So the flow is, for example, I want to set this up. What I'll do is I'll first of all create a EC2 machine. For example, this is a EC2 machine, and I'm running controller over it. I'll have a application load balancer, and eventually, like the companies already have it, so they can reuse it. And I have exposed this controller with this one. In my case, it's controller dot deep secure dot cryptic dot app and sorted. So this is something I have exposed this one, and that's why you can see that whenever I'm login, also I'm passing this one because that's the brain, right? Now, once I have to create users and anything, again, I can have target groups and all everything in between, and then I can generally, like in the company, we put it in the cluster itself as a container, so you don't need to create any target group or something. But if you want to uh, run it inside a EC2 machine separately, you can do that. You can create a target group and you can put that map the target group this is with this EC2 machine, but that is something pretty easy. Now what happens is, for this connectivity, you have to whitelist the controller IP for this communication, HTTPS communication. So there will be HTTPS communication between controller and the gateway. So whenever a gateway is starting, what it will do is it will ask for the configuration, that which are the current users who want the access. So there can be possibility that, for example, you have lost the gateway for some of the reason. For example, you were running in the spot instance and maybe someone have stopped the instance. Anything can be possible, right? Then how will you get the current users that were already whitelisted? Like, for example, they were using some stuff and they all their connection will be hampered, right? So when you restart it, it will fetch the latest, the past configuration and put it there in the gateway itself. So people don't have to restart and do all those stuffs again. Everything will be streamlined automatically. So that's why, like, even the gateway communicate with the controller to get the latest config. Similarly, in this case, now as a user, what happens is, through ALB, when we communicate to the gateway and when we ask, okay, I want to access of T1 gateway. So this one, as a first step, I'll ask for this gateway access. I'll first of all ask which of the gateway I have option of connecting with. which of them I have access of. For example, I've got both the access that okay, I can connect with any of them. Then I'll ask controller, okay, I want to access gateway one. So eventually, the controller will create one pair of credentials, and it's kind of a config only. It will pass it to me. I'll put it here as a second step. And again, the same credential config, similar for that particular use case will be, for example, I wanted to connect to team one. The same will be passed to this one. So now using second and third step, because controller has given this one also config and this one also config. So what would happen is now this user can communicate with this gateway directly. Now this will not come in the picture, the controller. This way it is fast. Gate control is not a what we say single point of failure. Once you have the access, you don't have to communicate with the controller. You can directly communicate with the gateway. And what happens in the background after every 6 hours, which is configurable, after every 6 hours, controllers delete that config that was added at this step. So even if you don't delete at your end, it will of no use. You will not be able to connect with this gateway. You need a fresh set of access. So kind of a time bound access will be given. And again, yeah, you don't have to bring any different layer in between when you're communicating with any VPN. So that's the kind of architecture and flow. I hope this was clear.
Definitely was. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to understand, to be honest,
Right.
but I think a lot of people understand the premise behind it and why we are pushing people to adopt things in that direction. So sorry about the technical glitches. Maybe the VPN thing was interfering. I don't know. It looks like your video was coming in, but
Okay.
for some reason we were not able to, view it and things. Because I just checked on YouTube, so there's some moments of awkward silence, and your video does appear, but like we were not able to. I was not able to get it on the studio, so I wasn't sure whether you were there or not. And I think refreshing things from my side sort of fixed it. So, but anyhow, yeah, this was very useful, Tushar. Thank you so much. If people wanted to learn more and contribute, we should definitely leave links to the repos in the description of this video at a later date. I'll also, post updates on my socials, and what are the best ways to, start contributing, and what kind of contributions are you looking for?
So first of all, the documentation part is
Yeah, I'm
uh,
here.
yeah,
Keep
okay.
talking. Yeah.
So first of all, the thing that I'm looking for is the documentation part. I have to make it bit easy so that anyone comes to the picture. It's bit complicated right now. So that is pretty much pre-explanatory for them. That's the one thing. Secondly, the contribution I'm looking for right now is again there are a lot of factors that are involved in setting up of NLB or ALB if someone don't have anything something like that. So so streamlining that, if someone can contribute on how we can deploy things like in form of cloud formation or Terraform, that will be helpful. That is configuration based, something that can help someone. So again, I'm not able to full time work upon this one, so that's why the things are bit delayed. But yeah, eventually, like if someone helps as an open source contribution, it will definitely help in speedify this whole process. So eventually, the end goal is we will have all platforms, everything is developed. A little bit of changes, tweaks is required. So we will have Android, iOS, Windows app, Mac OS app, and Linux CLI. We will have Linux. We already have. So those kind of things we'll have, and one click solution even for the controller and one click for the gateway. That's the end goal. So a lot of things are something has to be streamlined, and that is something I'll need contribution from the contributors.
Awesome. So I think this is a good platform to get the word out there about, wanting contributors to come forward. And since you've also identified where you want contributions, I think it'll be relatively easier for people to sort of pick up and identify what they want to do and help you out with that. So hopefully, you find some help. There's some people that come forward to make some meaningful contributions, and I look forward to this project growing. And yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to present and keep an open source project alive and showcase it today.
Thanks a lot, Ram. It means a lot that you invited me and like we had a discussion, and like I love to have a contribution. Just want to make sure that every company, at least in this niche state, they have security for free. At least in the
Mm-hmm.
later state, they can buy tools, but at least in the starting, just cost should not be the thing that because of it they're not going with the security. So
Right.
that's the main thing. So for that only, also like a lot of scams are going on, right? So building a solution for mobile security itself, so that the
Right.
scams and all company can be don't have to take care of it, like from the security point of view. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, the product that we're building right now. Again, I'll try to
Right.
open source it.
Cool. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching today. Tushar, once again, it was a pleasure having you. We'll be back later this week with an AI security stream. Obviously, AI security is super popular, and a lot of people tend to focus on that. We're going to have Jay. I will post links to that on socials and more information where you can join. I look forward to seeing a lot of you on that stream as well. So take care, have a nice day today,